Hi, my name is Jeremy Gutshce and I'm the Chief Trend Hunter at TrendHunter.com, the world's largest collection of cutting-edge ideas. As a fun little story, what I wanted to tell each of you at Canada One is that long ago I was an entrepreneur at heart, and like so many entrepreneurs at heart, I really couldn't figure out what my business idea was going to be. So the reason I actually founded Trend Hunter was that I wanted to create a place where people from around the world could come to share their business ideas. And as it kind of grew, I didn't really need to pick, which was nice, but my passion remains trying to help entrepreneurs to find inspiration or find ways to keep their success stories rolling along. When I first decided to found Trend Hunter, I was actually working as Capital One's head of innovation, and what I would do is in the wee hours of the morning I would come home and I would teach myself to code, graphic design, start creating the daily issues. And as it started growing and it became a little bit more obvious that I could eventually retire from the corporate world, I cut my hours down and I went to 4 days a week at work, and I just started putting even more horsepower into Trend Hunter. And I think that was an interesting way to start the business because it meant that I didn't rely on venture capital financing, and I was able to do tests that were a little bit more aggressive, because if they didn't work, if I spent $10,000 on a marketing test, well, I could just keep on working a little bit longer. So it kind of made my bridge into being an entrepreneur a little bit easier. And I think then that, one can look back and say, well, I could have been a lot further ahead if I just got some financing and started earlier. But for me, I don't like to live a life of regret, so I'm pretty happy with how that went. Then as Trend Hunter started to motor along and I was able to really jump into the business full time, I started thinking of inexpensive ways to grow the business. So for example, instead of hiring a dozen journalists, I started creating a curriculum, an academy, and getting interns who came into our Trend Hunter Academy and would spend 4 months' time really learning our business, learning the cutting edge of social media, and then helping us to get a big, a bigger issue. But along the way, they were also getting a huge amount of exposure, getting millions of views just to their articles. So it's very win-win. And I think an interesting thing about Trend Hunter is that we've always tried to approach our problems in that same sort of way. So how can we do this in a profitable way, in a creative way that others really haven't, in order to succeed at a lower cost? CanadaOne.com is the world's largest collection of cutting-edge ideas. What that means is that we crowdsource innovations and trends from all around the world. We have about 50,000 contributors, and when they find something in pop culture, design, fashion, technology, they submit those ideas to their Trend Hunter portfolio as articles. Our editors then edit them, make sure the English grammar is up to caliber, and then publish them on our front page. We get about 40 million views a month, and that's really cool because it makes the sort of business model work on its own, but it also gives us a lot of data. So we look at the pattern of what sort of innovations people are interested in, and then we package those clusters up in our trend reports, which we sell to companies like Google, Microsoft, eBay, and they rely on those trend reports when they want to kickstart innovations on their teams. Something that's been really a source of pride for us is putting Canada on the map in the world of trends and innovation. We're the largest trend spotting website by far, and as a real Canadian, that's an exciting thing. It's also kind of challenging because a lot of the other .com success stories come from Silicon Valley or New York, and the sort of networks that they make there can be a lot different than what we're able to make here, just because there aren't as many very large websites that are operating the same way. Having said that, it's interesting to be in Canada because we end up having a really talented labor pool that you can get for a little less money than what you'd have to pay in the United States. And at the same time, there's Ontario media, digital media tax credits. There are a lot of different opportunities of Canadian entrepreneurial companies that want to see fellow entrepreneurs succeed. So although we don't always get the full benefit of that same .com community, we do try and find a way to pair up with other companies. So if you can think of ways to work with Trend Hunter, then definitely let us know. A big thing that I got brought into large corporations to talk about is how to kickstart innovation on their teams. But a lot of these ideas also work really well when it comes to small businesses. Now, the big thing that separates a Fortune 500 company from an entrepreneur is that with unlimited resources, they can do all sorts of research and studies. But here's an interesting thing. Even in a Fortune 500 company, it's too easy to get lost in the data of your surveys or your results. Why entrepreneurs succeed is that you're able to deeply understand what your customer's all about. But the challenge is that often when we talk to our customers, we're doing it in a way that we're selling them. They're in our stores, we're pitching them, and that stops us from being able to understand how they make the decision to choose us. So companies that thrive when it comes to innovation force themselves to meet their customers in the zone and learn what it's like when they choose. And as an example, editors of Fast Company magazine call the people that have canceled their subscriptions. The CEO of Continental flies an economy to talk to people and just understand how their experience is, and he doesn't announce his role. When I was working at Capital One heading their innovation, we set up booths all across Canada where the people working in those booths included me, the heads of marketing, finance, and we were trying just to understand what customers were interested in. And the last example I'll give you would be from Cadillac and the Escalade. I was interviewing the head of design for General Motors, and I was most interested in the Escalade. It became the greatest selling SUV by dollar value, and I wanted to know, how did they do it? Was it product placement? Did they take this vehicle and put it in rap videos? But actually, when I asked him, he said, no, we simply designed a luxury sport utility vehicle for affluent males aged 45 to 60. And then that happened. So he needed to find out who his new customer was. He could have used market research, he could have gotten someone on his team to make videos, but despite that, despite being a successful person, he decided he would do the difficult task of going to the most dangerous neighborhood in Detroit and waiting until he could see who was driving the Escalade. And think about who's driving the Escalade in the most dangerous neighborhood in Detroit. When he saw that person, he walked up to him and the window rolled down, presumably to take an order, and he said, "Excuse me, young man, but I designed this vehicle, and I was wondering if I could accompany you on a ride alongside your business for the day." And that seems like a really difficult thing to do, and you can imagine how tough it is to put yourself in that position. But for that young man, this vehicle is a part of his culture. It's an icon. It matters to him. And for that designer, it gives him a chance to more deeply understand what makes his product successful in a way that just doesn't leap out of the numbers. And the great thing of all of those examples is that an entrepreneur like you is equally able to do that sum of research that this head of General Motors is doing. So find ways to deeply understand what makes your customer choose you. If you're looking for more ways in order to find out how to spark innovation, you can pick up my book, Exploiting Chaos, 150 Ways to Spark Innovation During Times of Change. And on Trend Hunter, you can either click the book link or go to exploitingchaos.com for free downloadable samples. And as I like to put it, it's an award-winning book, but it's half pictures, so you know it's good. Anyway, thank you very much, Canada One. I wish you all the best of luck, and I hope that all Canadian entrepreneurs like you succeed, because, hey, I'm one of you.